Hey guys, welcome back. Unpopular opinions in Pokemon number 23. Again, the creator of this thread, Sakari. He's on YouTube as well. Check him out. Link in the description. Starting off here, we have Papa Frank God, who is posting some pictures of cards that are just concepts that somebody photoshopped together. These aren't real cards. Don't panic. Let's see what he says about them. I don't understand why anyone would want this. This goes against everything these cards represent. A trophy should be exclusive, tied to a certain big event, a symbol of great achievement, an art that only a handful of people around the world can have the privilege to stare at. This kills every concept that the card was made for. For what? Have a cheap reprint in your binder to feel special. This and a counterfeit, in my opinion, share the same I can't afford, but I want it. Cheap mentality I hate. I was also PO'd when they reprinted Shining Magikarp, but this is on another level. Edit, I don't know. Edit, I know these are not official, but the concept upsets me. So, it's not going to affect the value or the desirability of the real thing. I agree that reprints are boring. Same with, the base set Charizard has been printed 1 million times now, and they're going to keep printing it in different sets. Makes the artwork attainable, but again, it's not the same thing. They'll probably never do trophy cards because of the specific release, but you never know. Regardless, I think it's a non-issue. There are counterfeits and everything else. I don't know if you should be super duper upset about the fact that they reprint this stuff. Personally, I don't really want to see it. I don't really care if they do it, but in general, if people like it, if they can reprint some artwork, there's not really the nostalgia thing there for most people, so would they do it? Maybe, maybe not, in some special form. They're different enough that they don't look like the originals. So it's not like they're directly reprinting some trophy card that people actually won. I think you're getting upset for no reason. All right, Swiss says, I prefer the base set 2 holofoil pattern to the base set 1. I think a lot of people agree with this. Personally, again, I don't really care. The holofoil pattern means very little to me. In terms of the shapes and crap in the background. I guess if I had to choose one or the other, I would pick one. But again, I don't know. Base set over base set 2. Just reprints are not my friend. Candle says, I do not understand the appeal of reprints to collectors. Like for Magic the Gathering, I get it. You need some game pieces, but I'll never understand someone chasing / grading a reprint instead of the original. I think this more comes down to cost basis. If someone can't afford the original, then they'll take the reprint, or someone that likes to collect Charizards, for example, might want every version of Charizard, so maybe that's why they chase and grade those additional Charizards with that original artwork. I don't know. It's just a status symbol, that Charizard original art flex that people go after. So maybe they want a 10. Maybe it's a thing with grading. They can't get a 10 in the older cards, so they go with that. It's the same thing with why would somebody want an unlimited Charizard versus a first edition base. If they don't want to sink that much money into it, that's kind of the option. Affordability, and everyone's budget is different, so it's hard to lump anyone in a particular group or say that they all have enough money and disposable income to just go buy whatever they want. Same with why wouldn't they just go get a PSA 10 first edition base Charizard? Affordability, I personally am not going to crack at a 10 and put it in a binder, at least not at this point. So I totally understand. Maybe even comparable to my, condition requirements for my binder. I don't need 10s. I don't care if there's a little bit of whitening on the back on a corner. If it looks like it came out of a pack, that's good enough for me, provided it's not like some of the recent printings where there's a lot of damage straight out of the new product. So, Ash, moving on here. Ash says, most Art Academy competition cards are atrocious and are only desirable due to their rarity. I disagree. I kind of wish that they would do some kind of crazy Art Academy set where all of it is included. I don't know how they could do that. I don't know exactly whether they would or not, but it would be a cool concept. Like a set that's just entirely new artists that have never put their art on a Pokemon card before would be, I think, incredibly awesome, especially if each card was done by a different person. But that's a little bit of a dream. Azul says, Pokemon needs to stop making brand new Pokemon for a couple years and instead should focus on some evolutions and explore a lot more regional variants of existing Pokemon. Well, you're definitely getting the regional variants and I guess evolutions, some being region specific. So you're getting some of that, but there are also new Pokemon that are probably going to come with every generation. Personally, I would have liked to see more Mega Evolutions, but they strayed away from that. Now we have the Dynamax, Gigantamax gimmick in its place, which is pretty similar, other than you can just make every Pokemon big. Some of them actually have different forms or change in appearance, similar to a Mega Evolution. But if they went with Megas still, then it'd be a little awkward if they kept adding more Charizards. They already got the X and Y Charizard, so maybe they'd have like a Mega Z Charizard. Muck says, the majority of Art Academy cards look way better than the majority of modern CGI trophy cards. I would agree that they probably have more character, for sure, and more artist-specific than the modern trophy cards with the Pikachu, which is, it's pretty much a full art Pikachu, modern full art. So I don't know. I would agree. I don't know. Look way better. I think definitely they have more personality. The rarity might not be there, depending on which modern trophy you're talking about. But if I had to choose one or the other, and value was not part of it, I would definitely go with the Art Academy over the modern trophy cards. But neither are on my list of things that I'm chasing, so... Sherb says, I doubt this is unpopular, but I'm sad. I'm an adult that's collecting. Money, clout, etc. really makes me sad, and I wish I could be a kid collecting on the playground, not caring about anything. I initially started collecting for myself, but sometimes I feel like I'm not anymore. There's also just so much that I feel like I can't keep up. So, I don't know. Just don't collect for other people. Don't follow the leader. There's a lot of that going on right now, and usually it's a poor financial decision in terms of chasing after whatever everyone else is chasing at the same time. We've seen a lot of examples of that. It's not always the case, but do your own thing. I don't know. How did you collect as a kid? Maybe try doing that. Surely your budget is larger than it was when you were a child. But go back to that. If you collected as a kid as a binder, you didn't care about completing necessarily a set or having a certain grade or grading in general. Just go back to collecting something or the way that you think is going to give you the most enjoyment. Unfortunately, we cannot turn you into a child, but you can definitely just change the way that you collect. And I think that'll help. If you just stop thinking about the financial value or resale value rather, then I think you'll have a better time. Sandman the Endless says, special delivery cards are overhyped. They're good cards. Probably they are good cards, but only hyped up to such an insane degree since English has so little exclusive promos. So I think the English exclusive promos, or the lack thereof, is definitely playing a role. I mean, the special delivery Pikachu, I remember I was just like, oh, sweet. I can get some Pokemon t-shirts and they're going to send me a promo with each one. And then when they sold out, it turned into absolute panic. No one wanted the card. It was up there for 3 days. This was like before the Pokemon Center website was crashing constantly, and no one wanted it until it was gone. So everyone wants what they can't have. Unfortunately, I didn't get the Bidoof because the Pokemon Company only sends me junk mail and not that particular junk mail. But it's not the end of the world. It'll probably drop in price. I'll pick one up eventually. No big deal. Overhyped, yes. I think it's cool. I think it would be nice to get more promos in creative ways, or I don't know, like creative marketing ways, rather than just necessarily buy something and get it. But we'll see. Maybe English someday will hop on the promo train. There's a lot of promos already, and what is seemingly too many cards that we don't get for promo boxes, whether it be tins or coin boxes or anything like that. So maybe they can do something creative with that, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in it. We haven't seen a lot of it. Lavender Gengar says, really tired of all the idiot YouTubers only caring for Erder PSA 10 cards. Well, you're in the right spot. Because if I had a PSA 10 of anything, I would probably just trade it for a lesser value card, plus other cards, or maybe some cash on top, and maybe trade for an 8 and crack it out. Put it in my binder. If it was something that I needed. If not, this would just end up in the trade pile. Niche says, please stop grading with CGC and not using subgrades. They look so much worse and I won't buy them. Yeah, I guess put the extra money into the subgrades if that's something that you really want. If you're reselling it, you'd have to look at both options to see if it financially makes sense to pay the extra fees to get the subgrades. What I don't totally understand, and I don't know the entire process behind how they go about the subgrades or not subgrades, but it's weird to me that they don't have the subgrades unlockable in some method. Because if they're grading all the cards the same, there should be subgrades that are just hidden for all these cards. So you would think that you'd be able to, pay the fee later, get the subgrades. But it seems like if you don't pay for the subgrades, they just put a number on it. Versus if you get the subgrades, then the grade is calculated using the subgrades. So it seems a whole lot like it's two different processes that these things can go through. But what do I know, right? Lavender Gengar. I miss the days when this hobby wasn't about slabs. So I got good news for you on this as well. Just collect the rock cards. Or sometimes the graded cards are less expensive than a near mint or mint copy. Crack it out if you want to. Keep it in the slab if you want to. I don't know. It's weird. I find it really, really odd when people are on like the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and they say how much money they have to spend and they're looking for slabs. You don't have a preference on what the cards are inside. Like maybe you're going to pick and choose at that point, but it seems weird that it's more important to you that it's in a piece of plastic than what the actual card is. I don't get that, but maybe they're building like a fort or something out of plastic, and they need these slabs to finish off their last wall. And all right, Philip, with the upside down, I am new, please be nice. Default avatar. Once you've collected a card in one language, buying the same card in another language is a complete waste. So, I mean, probably a pretty popular opinion, but I know there are a lot of people that they like a specific card or they like a specific artist and they want additional languages. So they're collecting all the different languages. I don't think it's a waste. It's, in their eyes, if they like it, if that's what they want to collect, it is the complete opposite of a complete waste. There's also examples where either the texture or the holo or the card outline and like the language on the card itself is different. So if those are things that someone's looking for and it's their favorite Pokemon or favorite artist or favorite card, who am I to tell them that they're wasting their money? 90s Mayo says, sets need to be smaller with less filler ultra rares. Not every single full art VMAX needs a rainbow rare, and I'm tired of pulling the filler junk. I think this is becoming a very popular opinion. We've seen this many times now, and I agree. They should have just retired the ultra rares or the rainbow rares, whatever you want to call them. There's too much chase. The set itself, I don't know. It has pros and cons. The set itself being really big, like all the non-hollows, your hollows, your Vs and VMAXs, I think is really good because it just allows you to open a lot more product without running into too many duplicates. All of that stuff is going to be very inexpensive anyway, short of the things that are playable, which are temporarily expensive. So nice, affordable way to fill out a binder or a checklist. But then the chase cards need a little bit of a trim. It's a lot. It's intense. It's getting crazy. Coop 13 has a very long one here for us. Let's power through it. A lot of Pokemon cards have a shelf life of another 20 years at best from a value perspective. As the 30-plus collectors move into their 50s and 60s, the value of their collections will start to diminish, and they'll start to unload cards that newer generations have no interest in. It's wishful thinking to believe our kids and grandkids will be interested in the same thing as us, especially with zero nostalgia to drive it. How many of you here collect the same things your parents or grandparents? I have no interest in my grandmother's, Hummels, or my mother's Precious Moments figurines. Younger collectors are coming in with the Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield generation of cards, which they'll become nostalgic for in 20 years. The nostalgia won't drive them to WotC, besides for a select few collectors who want older historical items that are now 40 plus years old. All right, let's just maybe answer it from there. So, I mean, there's baseball players that people collect now that, they weren't even alive at the time. So there is the historical aspect, but also at the same time, these older Pokemon are being recycled back into the sets. I know myself personally, there's a lot of sets that when I stopped collecting as a kid, I still want to go back and get those cards. So it'd be nice if they were dirt cheap because there was less nostalgia and people cared less for them. But at the same time, I don't know. I can't see this happening. There's too much of the old Pokemon being recycled or reused back into future content. And just the fact that they're so old and they'll be that much harder to find just leads me to believe that the older stuff is still going to retain value. Are there certain generations that were less popular and maybe will be in the future? Will there be so many cards and so many options that stuff tends to not go up as much? Probably. When you have more options, then the collectors or the people that are purchasing stuff are going to be spreading their money in a way that will probably hinder some of the growth. But at the same time, the older stuff only gets harder to find, especially in good condition. So, and then you'll definitely have people that want to collect either certain eras, older eras, or everything, like myself. And they'll have no choice but to go back and buy that stuff. And no, it's not going to spike. It shouldn't permanently spike the way that it did in 2021. But safe to say that the value will trend upwards as long as Pokemon is still kicking it, regardless of how many generations come out, regardless of how many Pokemon come out. They're all part of it. It won't be too long before there's 1,000 Pokemon, which is pretty wild. Because it probably depends on how you count the regional forms and stuff like that. But Lavender Gengar, again, he is all over the this particular grouping of pages that we've been going through. And he says, in all honesty, I am nostalgic for them. And I am nostalgic for them. Most WotC sets are overrated as hell. So, yes, in comparison, the WotC sets, the artwork, the backgrounds are a little bit lackluster compared to the new stuff, compared to even stuff shortly after that. Like if you look once getting into E-series, there's a lot more put into them rather than just the character model. So even artists, the same artists that did artwork back then, their newer art has a lot more effort put in, especially in the background aspects. So before, when you just had your Pokemon, you had it on a default background. There are exceptions, obviously, where some are, I guess, more exciting than others. But the people that aren't into modern are, I think, really missing out if they have any appreciation for the artwork over the age of the card. The new stuff is just so good. So many backgrounds, I love the cards. I say this all the time, but I love the cards that have kind of a story going on, especially that have the same story going on with other cards in the set. So like the Smeargle and the Meowth and the Mawile, where they're running through the woods and they got the footprints and the paintbrush mark. Awesome. Love that stuff. More of that. EV Team says, at the end of the day, we are collecting a non-essential luxury good. There will be an inflection point where the investors sell off, collectors already have their fix or run out of budget, and the market will be back to trading hands between collectors only. When that happens, prices will make for very obtainable cards. So I don't know. This must be in reference to like the current market conditions or like the 2021 market conditions. This was August 2021. So I'm assuming that's what they're talking about. But yeah, I would agree. And I think prices are not going to go back to exactly where they were in like 2018, 2019. But I think it'll come back down to a level where the normal growth would have met up with it. So we'll have that spike, but it'll still be higher. There's a lot of people that spent money on stuff that probably don't want to sell it. But at the same time, there could be a huge drop. And we've seen big drops in pretty much everything, especially like first edition base is just kind of falling through the floor right now, which is awesome because hopefully it'll allow me to finish that off and get back into buying the vintage stuff. There's no way you can predict the future, but I held off on buying a lot of that vintage stuff, the vintage singles that I was normally picking up in anticipation or with the thought process that this is what's going to happen. It's going to come back down and we'll get back onto a normal rate, a normal path, or at least somewhat normal. I'm sure there might be a little bit of an extra blip there, but yeah, just the growth that happened was not sustainable. People like to blame it on the Logan Paul stuff. They like to blame it on like the big collectors pumping numbers, but I'm sorry that Logan Paul didn't change the housing market. Logan Paul didn't change the other collectibles that skyrocketed in value, your video games and everything else. That was just market conditions, governments printing money, people wanting physical assets rather than cash, and then also people not spending money on vacations and going out as much or movies or stuff like that. People staying at home, people spending money or dumping money into collectibles and such. So as much as you want to believe, and maybe even Logan believes that he affected the market, I would have done the same thing or close to it. I think you can say that it definitely had an impact. It definitely brought more people in, most of which probably being very temporary, especially once some people lose money on these stonker 69 investments that they're thinking the Pokemon market is. So looking forward to a much more normal and steady rate of growth on the hobby than what we experienced, but I think we might be heading towards the tail end of that, hopefully. Collector says, I think at least half of the people criticizing Metazoo, or Metapu, I guess as he put it, in public have been stashing away sample cards and Kickstarter product. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think there's too many people trying to hide the fact that they're stonking Metazoo. They're pretty vocal about it. Inasuma says, got a few in regards to the games. Largely, the core games are idealized. They've never been particularly difficult, pretty with few exceptions, or even unique. And I don't know, there's kind of a recipe for success. You don't want them to be so hard that people can't play through. And again, that's why people branch off and do these like special conditions or runs or randomizers, challenges that they put in place where they can only use certain Pokemon, Nuzlocke stuff. If you want to make the game harder, you can, but it also makes it at least fairly accessible to new players, to kids that are going to grow up and play the games, or casual players. Thing with Pokemon games is, especially, I don't want to say easy, but the fact that you can just grind until you win, grind over strategy, it says a lot. So that's where speedruns come from too. Less grinding, more optimizing. So do as you will. Or if you feel like you need a challenge in catching a certain Pokemon, then catch the shiny ones. Whatever you need to do to enjoy it. There are many, many ways. Gen 5 is trash. Its best feature is the animated sprites. Music is fine. Gameplay had dumb mechanics. Less XP the higher level you are. Monotone region. It's a big circle. And pretty silly plot despite how Game Freak tried to play it up. So, I don't know. I don't think any of the generations are necessarily trash. If you don't like that particular game, maybe play other ones. But that's the thing. Like, even the remakes, you pretty much know what to expect with Pokemon. And they don't stray too far. There's different gimmicks and mechanics and things in each game and each generation, but in the end, it's Pokemon. It's fairly easy, especially if you've been playing a lot of the games, which it sounds like you have been. Then you're going to find the games extremely easy. Gen 7 was a wonderful breath of fresh air, having a unique setting and trial system as opposed to the gyms we're used to. Still not very interesting overall, but I did legitimately enjoy it compared to Gens 4 through 6. So, I don't know. I like Gen 7. It extremely easy, but at the same time, more playing it for the story, to see the new Pokemon, that kind of thing. I'm not trying to sweat. I'm not expecting Dark Souls of Pokemon kind of thing. So, Shiny Gyarados is a Gen 2 Pokemon. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you on this one. I think he posted a bunch of pictures with the red Gyarados in a bunch of the pamphlets and posters and stuff like that. But by this logic, I think some people called him out on it. Then all Gen 1 Pokemon that were in Gen 2 that are shiny would be Gen 2 Pokemon. But also the fact that your Gyarados could be shiny in Gen 1. He just wouldn't show shiny until you trade him over to Gen 2. So I think that disproves this. So you just can't tell he's shiny yet until he moves over, until you trade him over. V-Union cards are just set fillers. So I think this was before it was shown, like the Greninja and the Mewtwo, whatever. That at least for now, all of our V-Unions in English have been in promo boxes. And I really, really like the fact that they're in promo boxes. You get all 4 pieces. They look really awesome in a binder. In the promo binder. My Sword and Shield one. It makes a little bit of a mess with trying to keep the cards in order, but because you want to have them so they're displaying with the 4 pieces. And I really wish that the jumbo cards were more, chopped into 4 rather than a jumbo card that it's hard to find an actual good binder or way to store them and display them. I think if they were just chopped into 4 pieces, which is basically what the V-Unions are, 4 cards, making 1 jumbo card. I just found out that V-Union cards have 4 different set numbers and thus going to push sets even further into the 400 per cards. So, at least not at this point, but I mean, maybe. There's still some V-Unions that we didn't get. A couple more Pekos. And maybe something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But Maybe they'll end up in sets eventually, but I think it's more likely that we just keep getting them in promo boxes, which is good. Also good, I think in the Japanese, I'm not sure about other languages, but you get all 4 pieces in that same pack so that you don't end up with just like a quarter of a V-Union, which would be pretty disappointing. Pretty hard to collect all 4 pieces. You'd end up with like a bunch of the same lower right corner or something. Lavender Gengar. I think also the V-Unions are more, I think they're a better display piece and cool promo rather than a good game mechanic where you had to like fish all 4 pieces out and put them together. I get that they're trying to do something different there, but I don't know. It seems like a stretch. GX era, regular GXs are way prettier than the full arts. Yeah, kind of the GX full arts are a little bit boring. And I think even like GXs later on, where we got a little taste of the alternate arts, we got some character rares, which aren't GXs, at least not at that point. The tag teams are where it really kind of picked up in terms of GX. But yeah, there are some really nice regular GXs in terms of the artwork. The full art's having the rarity there and the texture and everything, so I can see why people like those as well. Especially if you're trying to make a matching deck of sorts. Krypton says, not sure how this one will go down, but Pokemon trading card game to play is inferior to Yu-Gi-Oh! And maybe somebody that has played both and has more experience with both would have a better idea. But isn't it? There's supposed to be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Client or something that's coming out. I might have to try that out when I have time. That'd be pretty fun. I would go ahead and disagree, but maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Is better, and maybe that's why it's, the sole reason why it's still alive versus Pokemon is more to do with collecting. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played enough Yu-Gi-Oh! To really to give an opinion on that, but without doing so, I would have to say that there's got to be Pokemon's got to be the more popular and probably better one. I would even go as far as to say that the Magic is probably a little bit better in terms of gameplay than Pokemon, but both games are extremely similar. Deck building, so I don't know. I'll have to play some Yu-Gi-Oh! and give a better opinion. I think there were some people saying that they liked old Yu-Gi-Oh! Better than new Yu-Gi-Oh! Or old Yu-Gi-Oh! Better than Pokemon, but new Pokemon better than Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, even the meta goes through some certain stages where a lot of stuff is playable versus not very much. Like right now where Mew is dominating everything, or when you had like the Zacian ADB where everyone's playing the same deck, it gets a little stale. But that comes in and out with rotation and with different cards being printed and introduced and power creep and all kinds of different factors. So certain eras probably more fun for people than others, unless you just really love playing the meta deck against mirror matches, which I hate mirror matches, but maybe that's just me. Shadowless Abra says the Bidoof meme is very artificial and is being used as a way for the Pokemon company to monetize a Pokemon no one would ever spend money on otherwise. Maybe people like the Bidoof meme, but maybe they're forcing it too hard. I don't know. Bidoof is definitely far from my favorite Pokemon, but I don't know. People, I saw some Bidoof hats. Maybe those are just people that were hoping that they were going to get a special delivery card alongside it, but who knows? Maybe Bidoof is now in it for the long haul. He's now the new Mudkip, dare I say. But Mudkip wasn't made a meme by the Pokemon company. I guess it's a whole different source. Can you make your own company memes? Maybe. All right, last but not least, we have Wise Whalmer, who says, how does this keep happening? And the link is broken, but it was just a CGC inadvertent early release. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or just a general question that got asked in here, but it keeps happening because I don't know. Nothing's cracked down. As you guys know, the stolen label designation, or sorry, not stolen, inadvertent early release label on the CGC cards is an extra incentive for people to steal from work to sell on the secondary market, and why the whole thing is happening. It's feeding into it. So being, I guess, the two main reasons for stealing cards from the print facility would be, one, for whoever wants to show them off, and two, for if there's financial value. And there certainly is, but that financial value would be just the normal value and wouldn't make it worth it, or as worth it in the end, because set releases, boom, all of a sudden your card that you overpaid for, sure, you get to show it off. Maybe, probably a bad idea to show it off too, but you guys know how I feel. CGC, stop grading stolen cards, for the love of God. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Come join the Discord. See you next time.